Yep. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Okay, thank you. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies, and I have an apology from Councillor Paul Barry and Councillor Nicholson. Are there any apologies from the chamber or at home? No. Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. If there's any declaration of interest, you can either make them now or make them when required at any item. Agenda item 3, presentation re Armagh City Townscape Heritage Project. And I'll pass you over to Brian first.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. I would like to introduce the presentation this evening. Stephen McConnell, who is the Chair of the Armagh Townscape Heritage Partnership, will present on progress to date on the Townscape Heritage Scheme. Also like to introduce the team, so Ciara and Keith and Shane, who are in this evening as well, who have been part of the delivery of the project. So I'll pass over to Stephen. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to thank you, first of all, for giving us the opportunity to come and speak to the Economic and Regeneration Committee. As Brian has said, I'm Stephen McConnell, and I am Chair of the Armagh City Townscape Heritage Partnership. And although my background is in law and accountancy, for a time I was a partner in a firm of architects in Belfast. Building conservation has always been of interest to me, and 27 years ago I moved to the city of Armagh, where I have been responsible in part for the oversight and management of Grade 2 listed buildings in College Hill and along the Mall East as well. 4 years ago, I had the pleasure of being invited to join the partnership, and I took over as chair following on from Councillor Frida Donnelly. As most of you are no doubt aware, the Armagh City Township Heritage Partnership Scheme is a national lottery heritage funded regeneration programme. The partnership itself is a company limited by guarantee and has a board of directors consisting of 5 elected council representatives and 4 non-council representatives from the business community. £8.3 million in funding has been secured for the TH scheme, which consists of money from the ABC Council in the sum of £3 million, National Lottery Heritage Fund of nearly £2 million, and the remainder from private owners. We're also hoping to achieve additional funding from DFC. The scheme is being delivered in 2 parts, and those parts are running in parallel. There's a capital works scheme, which involves 13 properties within Upper English Street, Scotch Street and Barrack Street. And there's also a delivery of an education and activity programme, which Ciara McNeice runs as in her capacity as education officer. There were significant delays in the delivery of the scheme, largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which had a significant impact upon the activities of the partnership and on the projects which we had anticipated would have been progressed to more advanced stage. In addition to the COVID pandemic, building projects were impacted greatly by increased building costs, which also had an impact on our TH projects in Armagh City. However, in spite of these difficulties, we're starting to see significant progress, and there was progress in many of the building projects, with the momentum for the TH scheme increasing considerably during year 4 and year 5 of the project. The project was due to have come to an end on the 30th of September 2022. However, I'm pleased to advise that we had a 2.5-year extension granted by Heritage Lottery, and the project will now proceed until 31st of March 2025. In spite of the obstacles, there has been a significant progress in many of the building projects. At the start of the project, there were 45 buildings which we had earmarked as being possible for redevelopment. We know that 32 of those will not progress, but this leaves 13 buildings which have a reasonable chance of completion. We have currently 2 projects on site, and it's anticipated that both those projects will have successfully completed during the year. We have either 7 or potentially 8 more projects in the pipeline in Upper English Street, and there's a possibility of another scheme which we would like to deliver to completion in Gosford Place. However, that is dependent on additional funding streams being secured, and at the present time it's a first come, first served in regard to the property developers getting in their claims for funding. So if I can take you through some of the slides to give you a better idea of where we are. Armagh City, it's been a conservation area since 1981. We have over 90 listed buildings, and it is an area of significant heritage interest. However, within that area, there are a number of buildings which are in serious state, and they are seriously neglected and are in derelict status. The Armagh Townscape Heritage Project has identified 2 main clusters, Cluster 1 and Cluster 2. Cluster 1 being Upper English Street, and Cluster 2 being Barrack Street and Little Barrack Street. So those are the main areas that we were concentrating in for the regeneration of the Armagh City Centre. The partnership, as I said, it's a company limited by guarantee, and we have 5 elected council representatives and 4 from the business community. Membership of that committee has changed over the years, but that was a photograph of the board at one stage, which was taken in the palace in Armagh. The current capital budget, the majority of the funding comes from the private sector, and to date, the private contribution is over 53%, with HLF contributing about 23% and the council contribution approximately 24%. So the largest contributor to the scheme are the private developers of the properties. We have achieved considerable achievement, made considerable achievements to date, and we have 4 projects which have completed in Barrack Street, Little Barrack Street, and Scotch Street. One of those is a boutique on Scotch Street, which I'm told is very, very good. And we also have a coffee shop in which is ranked very highly again on TripAdvisor. So I'm not selling the coffee from Sojourn, but it's supposed to be very good. We also have 2 units of residential accommodation created, and Armagh County Club has been restored, and there was a gap site at 43 Upper English Street, which was part of the Seven Sisters, which has now been totally restored, and that will be residential accommodation. And also we're looking for a tenant for the ground floor for commercial purposes. So almost £5 million of private funding, and we have 7 or perhaps 8 projects, as I said, that are pending completion before the 31st of March completion of the scheme. So the difference is remarkable. This is the 6 Barrack Street property. which is now in the occupancy of Sojourn Coffee. And it is doing extremely well commercially within the town, and it's getting high reviews. You'll see in the video which follows a before and after of the Barrack Street property. There's a very nice musical soundtrack with that. So you can just have to imagine that. The property was completely derelict before the contractor took it over, but a number of the original architectural features have been maintained, and it's a tremendous example of what can be done to a derelict building to bring it back into use and commercial use at that. This building is the 43 Upper English Street. That is the building I referred to as, or we referred to it as being the gap site. And it was the last of the Seven Sisters, which was destroyed in a fire, I think over 50 years ago, and it's been lying as a derelict site for that period of time. So the cost of making that site bring it back again was considerably high, and certainly no developer would have taken that on without the assistance of the partnership. So it's in the corner of Upper English Street and College Street, and with time-lapse video. Again, we had nice background music, which you can just imagine as well. But that building still has the hoarding around it, and hopefully the hoarding will come down, and it'll be ready for occupation at the end of this year. The other part of the scheme, which I said was been delivered, was the education and activity program. And that scheme started back in 2017, was supposed to be a 5-year scheme. And like the capital project, that has been extended by another 2.5 years, and that will run until March 2025. So the Education Outreach Programme, we have had a number of conservation and maintenance courses. There's a course currently being run by the Royal Ulster Architects Society, and it's a second part of a course. The first part was held last year, and it was the first time the course has actually been held by the RUAS outside of Belfast. There's a golden teapot scheme. There's a teapot which has been restored and renovated and is currently in the Armagh County Museum. And we hope to have that. The planning permission has been granted for that to be have the teapot put outside the Charlemont Arms Hotel. It was originally located in Scott Street in Armagh, but it was hit a number of years ago by a high-sided vehicle and has been in a state of disrepair ever since. But that has now been rectified and put up outside the Charlemont Arms Hotel. Schools and education programs, we are working, our care is working with a number of schools. The St. Patrick's, Mount St. Catherine's, Saints and Scholars and Royal School Prep Department have all been involved in a school and community education program. There's also been community engagement and a number of talks have been organised with residents of historic parts of Armagh. And we are currently looking at art on the wall scheme as well as part of our education and outreach program. So as I said, we have a number of projects we're hoping to complete. If anyone's interested in giving us any more money for it, we'd be glad to take that because we cannot do all the schemes that we'd like to do. But the one scheme that we are very keen on seeing to fruition is the Gosford Place scheme. That's the building which is the listed building beside the, if anyone knows Armagh, it's on Mall West. And it was the former health building, which is a 1970s building beside a building that was erected in 1880. So thank you for the opportunity for coming this evening, and we're happy to take any questions if any of the members have.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for your talk there. It's great to see old buildings coming back into use. It's an awful thing to see buildings destroyed and disappearing. So it's good to see them back in use. Have we any questions? We're going to get off late tonight. No, sorry. Alderman Spears.
It's not a question. Mr. Chairman, first of all, apologies. I intended to be there in the building tonight, but unfortunately I wasn't able. But I do want to declare an interest. The property that I have been involved in is mentioned there, Scott Street, and I declare an interest in that scheme. And I must say it's a tremendous scheme. I was involved, as you know, in one in Rich Hill, and I've seen the outworkings of that. And I must say that it is really an imaginative way of utilising, restoring and regenerating old property. And it's a very good scheme, but I'm declaring an interest in my own interest in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. Oh, sorry, Councillor McElrath.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, listeners, on behalf of our group is simply to say thank you to Stephen for the presentation. You're doing a fantastic work. As Alderman Spears said, it's great to see these old buildings being restored and some of the timelines on them, some of the history is unbelievable. And I know Alderman Wilson from our own group sits on the project and thoroughly enjoys it. And great to see some of these buildings being brought back into use, and the Sojourn coffee shop looks good. I'll have to give it a wee call someday. But thank you on behalf of our group.
The coffee's very good in it, I can assure you.
Thank you, Councillor McElrath. Councillor O'Halloran.
Yeah, sorry, Chair, for having problems getting connected there. So just in the first instance, declare an interest as a member of the partnership. Can I thank Stephen and his colleagues for the work that they do and the time they put in, and our own officers as well. As you Stephen highlighted, but it's only now whenever you're walking down through the streets in Armagh, you see the benefits of the scheme as buildings are starting to get a new life. And I particularly refer to one of the 7 houses. It has really transformed that part of the city, and I hope that it'll maybe be a catalyst and a G up to council to get our own act together in relation to the St Patrick's Tryon and Old Bank building across the road from it, because it's a beautiful part of the city, and that one building and the transformation it has had is unbelievable. But hopefully it will encourage us to get our act together and sort out the future of the Tryon building. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. Councillor Duffy.
Stephen, thank you. Thank you. I'm working in the building trade myself. The work looks absolutely fantastic. I would just like to ask, I know it wouldn't be too easy to get builders, plasters, bricklayers, joiners, of that sort of quality to finish all that old style work. Would you just be taking on, or have the builders you do take on tied in with apprenticeships programs, for local apprentices, looking to, get on and sort of learn that type of work?
Apprentices under that scheme or not? But it's a good question.
Thank you. Councillor Carol Savage.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Very detailed, and it's good to see that Armagh is moving forward and getting tidied up. But I suppose from a council perspective, it's it'd be interesting to take good practice from this, that we can spread this out throughout the rest of the urban centres that we have. I take a look at Dromore, and we have trees growing out the side of buildings and that. So it'd be good to learn from what you have done in Armagh and spread, and hopefully our council officers can look into that and progress that forward for the like of Dromore and the rest of the urban centres. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. In the absence of any other questions, can I thank you, Stephen, and your team for coming and making your presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so agenda item 4 is the Strategic Director's Report, and I'm going to hand over to Olga to take this one.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. The first item is an update in relation to the work on the Dublin-Belfast Economic Corridor. So I just want to brief members on the progress to date. Previous reports have been brought to committee in relation to the setting up of the partnership on the Dublin-Belfast Economic Corridor, and there has been a phased approach. And currently we're looking at the legal structures and the funding options for this partnership. Coordination is going to take place through a single location with dedicated resources to deliver on the aims of the partnership. And this is an opportunity really to start to look at profiling the region for sectoral support, for investment, and looking at enablers for development as well. The next meeting of the Political Advisory Group will take place later this week on the 14th of October. Currently, an action plan and a strategy is being worked up for the partnership, and identified within that is the need for a dedicated resource, which will be put in place and located in Mary Moran Down, who are currently the chairing role for the partnership at this stage. The group have been successful in an application to the Shared Island on feasibility work linked to innovation centres as well. And further updates on the work of the Dublin-Belfast Economic Corridor and the draft strategy will be presented to a future committee meeting.
Thank you, Olga. Any questions? Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Olga. I see there they haven't got an office or a base yet, and I'm sure every effort's been made to try and get that located within the ABC area. Would that be an option?
Currently, the group are looking potentially at it being housed within Newry Morning Down at this stage, because Newry Morning Down have got the chairing role. However, the work will take place right across the region. So it's been linked at the moment in terms of where the Secretariat will be located. But like all the partnerships that we're currently working in, it's important that the benefit goes right across the region.
Item 4.2. Oh, sorry. Alderman Moodray, do you want to come in again?
Thank you, Chair. If through you, I can just ask the Director, there are some projects outlined at the bottom of it, and I think that ABC Council is involved in 7. Are these potential projects that are just been scoped out at this minute in time? And if so, how many are there expected to progress eventually onto fully blown projects?
Alderman Moodray, I'll take that as part of this next item. I'll just talk through and then explain. So thank you for the question. So at committee on the 10th of May, members received a report on applications to the Shared Island Local Authority Development Funding Call. The purpose is to support new joint initiative and investment projects by cross-border local authority partnerships. The lead local authority is in the Republic of Ireland, and they are responsible for the award submission and the resultant management of the funding. Details were announced on the 29th of September, and Council is included in 7 partnerships, ranging from business innovation, decarbonisation, tourism, and agri-food collaboration. Funding has been allocated through the East Border Region Partnership for 2 projects, and as previously advised, through the Dublin-Belfast Economic Corridor for 1 project as well. So the next stage is that feasibility work will start to commence in providing the evidence base for future funding programmes. So this will be scoping out potential projects, potentially that could be put forward for future funding calls, for example, through Peace Plus, etc. And then as this work starts, information on the development of the projects will be provided to committee. So at this stage, it's for feasibility and preparatory work.
Okay. Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. It's just a clear and just member East Border Region. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? Okay, move on to agenda item 5, Head of Economic Development Report, and we'll hand over to Nicola for that one.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good evening, members. 5.1 is an invitation to Business Partnership Alliance to present at a future meeting. So the decision required, it's recommended that members agree to receive a presentation from the Business Partnership Alliance on the current economic environment in the Borough at a future committee meeting.
Thank you, Nicola. Alderman Moodray.
Thank you, Chair. I would propose that we accede to the request and we have the Business Partnership Alliance in. They're made up of many local businesses. It's important that we hear from them, especially at the time we're in at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Moodray. Is there anyone to second that?
Happy to second.
Michael?
Yes, happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Nicola, we'll move on to 5.2.
Thank you, Chair. 5.2 is a request for healthcare analytics to present on the Data Innovation Hub at a future meeting. So the decision required is recommended that members agree to receive a presentation from Healthcare Analytics on the outputs achieved from the Data Innovation Hub project delivered at Bleary Business Centre at a future committee meeting.
I propose accordingly, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone to second it? Alderman Mutry. Agenda item 5.3. And I'll hand over to Nicola again.
Thank you again, Chair. Yes, 5.3 is a letter of variation from Invest NI for local economic development 2 programmes. So the decision required, it's recommended that members accept the revised letters of offer from Invest NI, which includes extensions for both LED 2 programmes comprising Transform Your Business programme and Win More Business until March 2023.
Thank you, Nicola. Again, I'm open for a proposer and a seconder.
Propose accordingly. Very welcome.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. Anyone to second that? Councillor McElrath, thank you. Items 5.4 to 5.9 are all for information, unless anyone has any questions. No, thank you. Agenda item 6, Head of Tourism, Arts and Culture report. I'll hand over to Brian for this.
Thank you, Chair. This item relates to a letter of offer that we received from the Northern Ireland Museum Council. It's for a small grant with regard to a late shift outside hours programming in the County Museum in Armagh. So the award is for £1,000 and it's 100% funded. Again, so it's recommended that members approve the letter of offer from the Northern Ireland Museums Council for museums lates. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone to propose a recommendation?
Proposed, Chairman.
Councillor McElrath, thank you, and seconded by Alderman Spears. Thank you. Item 6.2 is for information, but I think Brian wants to say a few words on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And again, we brought this report forward this evening. Again, there have been a number of discussions over the last number of months, again, about the difficult times that tourism and hospitality businesses have been facing. And again, a number of members have raised the issue to make sure that we're responding to that accordingly and not rolling out a plan that we probably had in previous years. So again, what we're doing at the minute is very bespoke. We had our tourism conference today, got a lot of good feedback, again, from the trade. And there's a number of things detailed within this. So obviously from a tourism and hospitality point of view at the minute, the 2 key issues are sort of the cost of doing business, and particularly through energy costs, but also the difficulties previously in getting staff. So this report details a number of those initiatives that were undertaken. And again, today, as I said, the tourism conference, we got a lot of good feedback. And a lot of, again, we're all the time taking the feedback from business. So this is just an update for members that have been asked for previously. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And can I congratulate yourself and your team for a very successful conference today, held in Elmfield Castle in Guildford. It was very well attended and a great lineup of speakers. And I just want to thank you for that. Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Just to reiterate the words that you've said, Chair, to Brian and his team for the excellent conference they had today. It was very well attended. And it's great hearing the feedback at the table. And coming out of that, we know the pressures that the hospitality sector is facing through energy costs and also through staffing. And talking to some of the ones today, I would like to propose that we set a steering group up involving the local hospitality sector. I'm not talking about bringing consultants in. We have good enough staff to do the job, and that we are in regular contact with them. And that is something that the people that I was talking to today want to see this council do. So I said I'd propose it here tonight, and I think that's something that we need to do. You know, we're connecting, listening, and responding to the needs of the hospitality sector. It's a vital sector in the area. We heard that today, and we've seen the networking that was going on today. And it's fabulous to see John from the sheepdog trials that's happening next year. The expectation there's 264 competitors coming in that from right across the world. That's an opportunity for us to showcase, but also to use the bed space that is available within our borough. So I think it is important that we have that steering group set up within the sector. I'd like to propose that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. Councillor McElrath.
Thank you, Chair. Listen, just to tie into Brian's report, not directly, but speaking about tourism and hospitality and so on. And it's just, I think, it'd be remiss of us not to put on record our thanks to John Wilson for organising such a fantastic Country Comes to Town event on Saturday past. I'm sure there were other elected reps and members there, but there were literally thousands of people in the town. I didn't get to about 3 o'clock. Well, it was still heaving at that stage. And I know we didn't organise that directly, but council had quite an input there as well, in many ways, not least in kind. But the number of tourists, the number of people, I don't know whether you would call them tourists, but certainly a number of visitors from Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, from way down south, from Donegal, all across Northern Ireland, and indeed from Scotland. And it was a fantastic event. And I think our thanks should go to John Wilson and the organisers, and also those from council here that played their part in supporting the event. I'm sure many of us were there, and the crowds were massive. The weather helped immensely, but I know some of the stall holders and so on that had stalls couldn't believe they were sold out by lunchtime. And I think the businesses did well as well, and right across the town, not just down through the town centre, but down Woodhouse Street, Mandeville Street, West Street. It was well organised, well run, and great crowds. And I think it's an event that we need to build on if we can at all. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McElrath. Well, it still leaves the proposal that we set up a steering group to work along with the hospitality industry. Is there anyone who wants to second? Alderman Spears.
Chairman, I'm quite happy to second the proposal. I think, you know, that we do need officers to bring forward a paper or a report on how we effectively engage the hospitality sector. If anyone has suffered as a consequence of COVID, it is certainly them, and they still appear to be in great difficulties and staff-wise and energy-wise and whatever. And I think a conversation with them and with people representative of them is very, very important. And I think it would be beneficial to us all as councillors. And I certainly would be happy to support and second the proposal that Councillor Savage has made. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. Is everyone happy enough with the proposal? Councillor O'Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And look, I'm happy with the proposal. What I would say is, I think during COVID, we had a good way of engaging with business in terms of emails and stuff on a regular contact. And I know that's time consuming. And I know over recent weeks, I've spent some time engaging with businesses in general in Armagh City. And I think it's fair to say communication isn't great between us and as an organisation and those in business, be they hospitality or be they retail. And Alderman Spears is right, you know, the difficulties facing businesses in the time ahead, not just the staffing, but energy costs and others. I think some of the support that's out there through government and others, that a central way of communicating with people out to businesses right throughout the borough is key. And I would like to see that whatever stakeholder group that Councillor Savage is referring to, I'd like to see it undertake a good communication and regular communication with people in our business and the hospitality sector, because they are the backbone of the economy. They provide many jobs for young people who are at college, part-time jobs at the weekends, as well as full-time employment throughout the week. So I think whatever we can do to help and support the sector is key, but key to that is communication between ourselves and the sectors. So I'd like to think that that would be taken on board as part of the development of that strategy. But happy to support.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. Alderman Mutry.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not for 1 minute opposed to setting up a steering group and for better communication between council and retailers, but can I just ask for a wee bit more clarity around what's proposed here? What would the remit of the steering group be, and is it something that's task and finish, or is this something on an ongoing basis? I'm not sure.
Thank you. I'll hand over to Councillor Savage again.
Thank you, Chair. As I said, Alderman Mutry, it would be listening and responding to the needs of that sector. And I think that's vitally important. You know, we've heard the pressures on today whenever we were at the conference. Those of us that were there, you know, heard firsthand the pressures that's under local business, hospitality is under. So it is. And that the potential that is there, but we need help and support in doing that. But in order to do that, you've got to listen and respond.
Okay, Alderman Mutry, you happy enough with the response, or? Okay, thank you. Okay, so can I have a proposer and seconder that we go into committee? Alderman Baxter.
Chairman, just before we, Councillor Burns, Chairman. Hello.
Okay, Alderman Spears, go ahead.
It was just on the Nicola's report. There was an issue I wanted to refer to, and that was, we went through it fairly quickly, and there were information items, and there was one about towns and villages. Now, I have been speaking to traders and people in the town in Market Hill, and I'm not sure whether this affects, I think it does affect some other places, but we have a lot of people is park and ride, so to speak. There's no parking restrictions in Market Hill to any great extent. Yes, if you parked on a yellow line at a very dangerous corner, you may be unfortunate that the red coats would be called around and give you a ticket. But it does allow people to park all day in the centre of the town and move on to another place to work somewhere else or whatever. And they're literally occupying spaces that the business folk in the town would very, very much appreciate that they were left for shoppers. I'm not sure whether there's anything that council can do on these things, but reference was made to listening and responding to people. I'm listening to folk that are telling me that, and truthfully, I'm not quite sure how we effectively respond. I'd like maybe some guidance in terms of how we move forward on an issue like that, because I've witnessed it myself, people just hopping out of the car and heading in another car away to wherever for the day, and the car sitting blocking a parking space in the town. And I'm quite sure it happens elsewhere, and it's not to the benefit of the town that it's happening. But I just make the point, and if there was any way that sort of resolution to the like of that, I would certainly welcome the support of council.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. Nicola, do you want to come in on that?
Certainly, Chair, I'll respond to say, yes, it's disappointing in areas whenever there are no parking restrictions that allow people to park all day, that they do that and take advantage of what they see as free parking and making it very difficult for the traders and for shoppers as well. And you're absolutely right about listening and responding. And council has a role to play in that as well. So perhaps what we can do is we can go and talk to some of the traders in the area and to get a more full picture from them as to when this is happening, where it's happening, and then see if we can try to, working with the traders, put some sort of a communications plan in place whereby people are dissuaded from parking all day and that those spaces are returned back to the traders and the shoppers.
Chairman, thank you, Nicola, through yourself as chair. I appreciate that and look forward to engaging further with you, Nicola, on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's been proposed by Alderman Baxter and seconded by Alderman Mutry that we go into confidential business. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of council. This means that we'll be turning off the live public feed of this meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask that ICT officers please turn off the feed and confirm with me when confidential section of this meeting can proceed. session. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 8, correspondence, there is none. And agenda item 9, any other relevant business. Nobody has contacted me, so there's no other business. And that being the case, I close the meeting and wish you all a safe journey home. Thank you.
Thank you.